Records will be broken, bodies pushed to their limits, and legends created as 12 teams battle to win the longest ocean race on the planet. This is the Clipper Round the World Yacht Race. Starting in Brisbane, Race 8, the Old Pulteney Navigator Cup heads up to a scoring gate off New Guinea, through the Solomon Islands and on to the finish in Singapore, along the 4,500 nautical mile racetrack. The fleet motors out of Brisbane and prepares for another Le Mans-style start, with Qingdao coordinating the start sequence.
Okay, so Le Mans start really exciting. You have a lead boat and the rest of the boats line up either side of them, and there's countdown 10 minutes, and it's a bit like a Le Mans start in that all the crew have to stand behind the grinders here, and at the start then they all rush forward into their positions. We hoist the sails, and all the boats have to have the same sail plan, which is determined by the lead boat, and the same course is set by the lead boat, and then you're away.
And at the start time, crews begin hoisting their jib to begin the first of countless sail evolutions, as the race to Singapore gets underway in a light breeze and golden evening light. The yachts are all quickly powered up, and it's Derry Londonderry Durra that pushes for an early lead from the off. Over the next few days, the fleet stays close, but the Northern Irish entry is determined to stay ahead of the pack and takes 3 scoring gate points ahead of 1 DLL and Old Pulteney as they enter the Coral Sea with its tropical climate. Temperatures quickly begin to soar as they move ever closer to the equator for the second time since leaving London. Perfect sailing conditions see Mission Performance recording 280 miles in 24 hours as the fleet flies along the racetrack. All of the teams at optimum speed, requiring focused concentration throughout the day and night, constantly trimming and changing sails, relentlessly charging as fast as possible. Moving up towards Papua New Guinea, the weather becomes more frequently squally and unpredictable, as the crew on Great Britain experience in a terrifying moment that will never be forgotten.
Yeah, yesterday we were just preparations for a squall that was about to hit us, as have been doing all through the day, so nothing new there. We're putting 2 reefs into the main and getting ready for it. We just started the reef when all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we saw coming in waterspout, which is effectively a small tornado or a spinning system that sucks water up, very powerful, with very powerful winds in it. It's only about 50 metres wide, and a bit of bad luck that 50 metre wide waterspout hits a 25 metre boat, but came straight in us, and we saw the wind go from starboard tack immediately, very violently on starboard, and then straight over to port tack, knocked the boat straight over to a heel angle of about 81, 82 degrees. We were pinned to the floor for 6 or 7 seconds, and then the waterspout moved off to our starboard aft, and the boat came back upright. Thankfully, all unhurt, boat unhurt. Could have been a very different story, so we're very lucky there. But yeah, I think one of those Clipper experiences that the crew won't forget in a hurry.
As days pass by and the fleet sails into the lighter airs of the Solomon Sea, the frustrating conditions see the leading pack condense, with Derry Londonderry Durra losing, then regaining first position, while Old Pulteney moves into second. And despite their knockdown, Great Britain moves into third as they dodge between islands. The Clipper race fleet is spread out, experiencing different wind conditions as they continue pushing 24 hours a day, some in big rainy squalls and swells, while others hunt for wind as the temperatures hit the high 30s and climb ever more. Life below deck is once again swelteringly uncomfortable, and much-needed sleep in the few hours off between watches almost unbearable. But the pace continues, and Qingdao is up with the leaders.
I think this race probably compares to a couple of others, but I don't think we've been in this position since the run into Sydney. We were fighting with DLL and Henry Lloyd again for a podium position. Then we were probably going hopefully for a second, but we were within sight and we match raced them all the way up the coast from around the Tassie corner. This time it's been kind of similar, but obviously there's a lot more wolves in the pack chasing us this time, or indeed have gone past us this time. so it's going to be a lot more exciting on the finish. I mean, it'll be great for people watching it on yellow brick back home.
The pressure for more speed is non-stop, and Scottish entry Old Pulteney moves into the lead briefly. But the pack converges again, with Great Britain taking over, having sailed a more northerly route. But with the winds dying and the fleet behind schedule in the Bismarck Sea, the race finish is shortened at the Sarangani waypoint off the Philippines after 24 days. Henry Lloyd takes line honours in the Old Pulteney Navigator Cup, just seconds ahead of Great Britain, with one DLL finishing third, 25 minutes behind. Friends and family await the fleet making its way to Singapore, and some days later the yachts begin arriving at the magnificent 115 Marina in Sentosa Bay as skippers and crew reflect back on a long and exhausting race.
I think I described this leg as one of the toughest, actually. I mean, the Southern Ocean was brutal, and Bass Strait that we went through, didn't disappoint. It had gales every time. But I think the toughness of this leg was the fact that it was a horrible combination of heat and the duration and the squalls, which were relentless in some circumstances. Calms, which seemed like they were never going to end. It was a combination of all those when you least wanted them, so you never got any respite from the conditions that you didn't want. So it was very, very challenging, very, very tough, actually, from a mental resilience point of view. Not necessarily the toughest sailing we've had.
Naturally, there was delight at returning to winning form aboard Henry Lloyd.
We had a bit of a setback in Australia. We had some damage and missed 2 races. So for us, really, it's like a back-to-back wins for us, because the last race we got to do was from Albany to Sydney. I think it's good to be back on top and just show everybody that, we're still here and we're still fighting.
Having survived their waterspout knockdown, a second place for Great Britain was a gratifying result.
Very, very challenging tactically, but it worked out as we wanted it to in the end. Yeah, could have been 40 seconds better and won the race, but we're still pretty happy with the second place.
While Qingdao narrowly misses out on a podium this time.
Very disappointed we didn't get a podium position, and we only just missed out, and it just came down to really a luck in the draw towards the end. The last 24 hours was a real race, and lots of pressure on us and obviously the other boats to do well. So we were looking for a podium position this time to sort of bring the game up, but it's good preparation obviously for our next home leg, which is up to Qingdao, which everyone's raring to go for. So hopefully we're going to get on some better form and hopefully get podium positions in the future races.
Qingdao, Qingdao, Qingdao! Ciao, ciao, ciao!
After 3.5 weeks at sea, crews relish the chance to experience a taste of Southeast Asia, taking in this modern bustling city with its mix of old and new, together with the allure of Chinatown. Meanwhile, the yachts undergo their regular deep clean and maintenance, with the rudder bearings on each yacht checked out personally by Clipper race founder Sir Robin Knox-Johnston. Not bad for a 74-year-old round-the-world legend. One DLL requires particular attention, having reported an unusual incident while racing towards Singapore in the Solomon Sea, one that surprised the experienced maintenance team.
There's something in there that looks like a shark's tooth.
And so, in a complicated operation, the rudder is removed for inspection.
It got damaged, unfortunately, not by traditional means of hitting anything, but we actually had a shark bite into our rudder during race 8. We've pulled the teeth out, repaired the holes, fixed the trailing edge, which had a fair bit missing off of it, repainted it, and it's now ready to go back in. So it's obviously quite heavy. It probably weighs about 250 kilograms. So it's pretty heavy, hence the forklift truck. And the next trick is going to be getting it from here into the boat, which is over there. The office has looked at some photos of the teeth, and they think it's a large mako shark. It's one of the aggressive, dangerous ones. He was obviously quite hungry.